Many people have been asking us if we're getting into a housing bubble. In 2006, we found ourselves in a housing bubble, and many people think another one might be starting. So today I'm going to discuss why that probably isn't the case. There are several distinct differences between 2006 real estate market and the one that we have now, even if they seem very similar to you. One of the most crucial differences is that in 2006, the new construction market was vastly overbuilt with historically high vacancies. So the relatively low cost of funds, materials, transport, it all contributed to more new construction. Then when supply far outstripped demand, things fell way out of balance and a price correction became necessary. Also back in 2006, the mortgage industry engaged in business practices that ultimately damaged the value of mortgage-backed securities in the secondary market. The credit market had tightened in response, which further exacerbated the supply and demand issue. So thankfully, things are looking very different these days. Rather than an oversupply and speculation driving the market, today's price increases are the result of inflation and historically low supply levels. That's what's causing plenty of homes to sell over their initial asking price and very quickly. Supply chain issues and the cost of materials have also slowed down the new construction market, which again has changed the supply and demand issue. Additionally, today's stricter mortgage industry standards mean that the secondary mortgage products, which eventually affect pricing, such as mortgage-backed securities and collateralized debt obligations, are much more stable than they've been in recent years. Back in 2006, loose lending standards drove the housing crisis. Lending standards today are nothing like they were back in the early 2000s, and there's two components that this report by the Urban Institute outlined. So the first is product risk in the mortgage industry, and the second is borrower risk. So the red line there is product risk. Think about that as high risk, no down payment, no credit score, no income, adjustable rate mortgages. All that sounds like a disaster. And all of that has been virtually eliminated. Now that you can see the red portion is gone, the gray portion there, or borrower risk, is something that we're going to review. So think about that as asset profile, like credit score, all the things it takes to qualify for a loan, and those have been severely curtailed. So it's gotten harder to qualify for a loan after the housing crisis, and those standards took place starting about 14 years ago. So this graphic tells a story of the differences of today versus back then. And so you can see that the level of risk in both regards is much lower. And if you need further proof of this and how this is playing out in the market, this has really led to sort of a foreclosure shortage in the country. It's at an all-time low. So interestingly enough, foreclosures and defaults and future defaults is at an all-time low. So if you need further example of that, take a look at the loans that have been given to people with a credit score of less than 620. So again, go back to the housing crisis. This is in volume of billions of loans with a credit score of less than 620. The most recent information from the Federal Reserve is a fraction of where we were back then. So take a look at this slide and you can see that. And if you need further proof of how this is playing out in the market, this has really led to a foreclosure shortage that's at an all-time low. But back during the housing crisis, over 9 million people went through foreclosure. But those tighter lending standards that we've had over the last 14 years have led to fewer foreclosures in the market, which is why we are where we are today. So when you take into account that 50% of homeowners have an interest rate that's in the 3s or below, everyone's in a 30-year fixed mortgage, and there's more equity that homeowners have than we've ever seen in history, means that there is no chance of any type of bubble bursting or any type of bubble that's formed, period, in the foreseeable future. That bubble bursted back in 2005 because there were tons of mortgage defaults, there were people with zero equity, and there was very little buyers out there. And that's what crippled the market. And today it's actually the opposite for all three. And instead, inventory is still very low and buyer activity has slowed down a bit, but we still have years ahead of us before inventory will be at a level to slow down appreciation. So long story short, there are a few issues in the market right now causing some congestion, but they're likely to bring themselves back to a normal market slowly and steadily rather than all in once with a bubble and a crash. which is what we saw back in 2006. So eventually, inflation will ease, new construction will increase, and more people will put their home on the market. Although it's happening very slowly, it's currently happening right now. I can see that happening. But again, this is going to be a very slow adjustment, probably over 18 months at a minimum. And so for the foreseeable future, we're going to see at least 9% appreciation in the market, which means that now is the time to buy. So if you're worried about interest rates, just remember that they will likely be low again within 18 months. So that way, if you buy today, you can lock in your purchase price, and then in 18 months, you can go and refinance into a lower interest rate and payment. So there are many reasons for you to buy or to not buy a home, but you need to make the decision that's right for you. So don't let yourself feel like you're being bullied by the ghost of 2006 or the media headlines. Here's the facts that you need to understand. So if you have any questions about these tips or any other real estate matter, just call or email me back, and you can see it at soldwithdave.com, and I'd love to help you. So thank you very much.